You think you know Hollywood? Think again, because what happened in this film school auditorium left everyone speechless, and you won't believe how it all unfolded. Imagine sitting face to face with Denzel Washington, a two-time Academy Award winner, a living legend, a man who has defined what it means to be at the top of the industry for decades. Now imagine someone bold enough to challenge him, to question his legacy, to mock his success right in front of an entire crowd. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, it happened. And what Denzel did next? It shut down the entire room. This wasn't just another Hollywood Q&A. This was a reality check so powerful that it left an entire generation of aspiring filmmakers questioning everything they thought they knew. A young student, convinced that modern Hollywood had moved past the need for experience and discipline, decided to go head-to-head with one of the greatest actors of all time. But what he didn't expect was that Denzel Washington was about to give him, and everyone else, a lesson they would never forget. What did Denzel say that left this arrogant student completely humiliated? How did he turn the tables in a way that only a true Hollywood icon could? And most importantly, what can we all learn from this moment? You need to see this before it's too late. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and get ready, because what you're about to witness is one of the most powerful lessons on success you will ever hear. Let's dive in. Denzel Washington isn't just an actor. He's a force of nature in Hollywood. With 2 Academy Awards under his belt, countless critically acclaimed performances, and a reputation that commands respect, he's more than just a celebrity. He's a legend. But what really sets him apart isn't just his talent, it's his wisdom. His words have shaped generations of actors, filmmakers, and dreamers alike. When Denzel speaks, people listen. And yet, despite his accolades, his success, and his decades in the industry, there are always those who dare to challenge him. But what happens when someone questions the legacy of a man who's already written history? Washington's influence stretches far beyond the big screen. His presence alone carries a weight that few can match, and his career is a masterclass in resilience, discipline, and pure talent. He's not the type to chase headlines or engage in Hollywood drama. His work speaks for itself. That's exactly why, when he steps into a room, people sit up, straighter. Whether it's his unforgettable performances in Training Day, Malcolm X, or Fences, his ability to transform into any role with unwavering intensity proves one thing: he doesn't just act, he becomes. So when he was invited to speak at a prestigious film school, students expected to hear a few words of inspiration. What they got, however, was something far more unforgettable. For aspiring filmmakers, hearing directly from Denzel was the opportunity of a lifetime. He had spent decades perfecting his craft, navigating an ever-changing industry, and proving that success in Hollywood requires more than just talent. It takes discipline, hard work, and an unshakable mindset. But as always in any room filled with eager young minds, there's bound to be someone who thinks they know better. And on this particular day, one student decided he had something to say. Someone who, for whatever reason, believed he had the upper hand against one of the greatest actors of all time. What could possibly go wrong? The truth is, Hollywood isn't what it used to be. Over the years, the industry has shifted. New technologies, changing narratives, and evolving audience expectations have transformed the way films are made. But does that mean legends like Denzel Washington are no longer relevant? Can experience truly be replaced by innovation alone? That was exactly the argument this student tried to make. But what he didn't realize was that questioning Denzel Washington's legacy in front of him was a move that would not end well. What happened next left the entire room in stunned silence. Denzel, always composed, always sharp, didn't react with anger. He didn't have to. His response was so perfectly delivered, so undeniably powerful, that the student had no choice but to sit there speechless. And what's even more shocking, The lesson Denzel gave that day wasn't just for that one student. It was a wake-up call for an entire generation. Imagine being a film student sitting in a packed auditorium, waiting for a living legend to walk through the doors. That's exactly what happened when Denzel Washington was invited to speak at one of the most prestigious film schools in the country. The excitement was electric. This wasn't just another guest speaker. This was Denzel Washington, a man whose name alone carries more weight in Hollywood than entire production studios. Students were eager to hear from someone who had seen it all. Decades of industry evolution, the rise and fall of countless stars, and the hard truths no one dares to speak about Hollywood success. From the moment he stepped onto the stage, there was a shift in the atmosphere. Denzel wasn't there to sugarcoat anything. He wasn't going to give some motivational fluff about following your dreams without backing it up with reality. Instead, he delivered the truth, the kind that only someone who has conquered the industry can share. He spoke about the grit it takes to succeed, the sacrifices no one talks about, and the unrelenting work ethic required to last in an industry that spits people out as quickly as it elevates them. He emphasized that Hollywood isn't just about talent, it's about who is willing to outwork the rest. He spoke about discipline, resilience, and an unshakable mindset, qualities that have defined his own journey. Many students were nodding along, taking notes, absorbing every word. After all, they were getting an inside look at the real Hollywood, the one that exists behind the red carpets and flashing cameras. But, as always, in every crowd, there's one person who thinks they have all the answers. As Denzel continued to share his wisdom, an unexpected tension began to brew. One student, sitting in the front row, had a different perspective. He wasn't just there to listen, he was there to challenge. He wasn't impressed by decades of experience or golden statues. He believed that Hollywood was changing and that icons like Denzel were relics of the past. And, in a moment of bold defiance, he decided to speak up. Little did he know, he was about to receive a lesson in success, respect, and reality that he would never forget. Then it happened. In the middle of Denzel Washington's speech, one filled with invaluable insights, hard-earned wisdom, and lessons from the trenches of Hollywood, a voice cut through the room. A student, sitting confidently in the front row, raised his hand and challenged the legend himself. You could feel the shift in energy. The room, once filled with admiration and quiet reverence, suddenly grew tense. No one had expected this. The student, with a smirk that suggested he had something to prove, didn't hesitate. He questioned whether Denzel's approach to filmmaking was outdated, implying that modern Hollywood had moved on from the kind of storytelling and performances that made Washington a household name. According to him, Hollywood wasn't about experience anymore. It was about special effects, digital innovation, new voices, and diverse perspectives. The implication was clear. In this student's mind, Denzel's success belonged to an era that was fading, and the industry was moving forward without him. A murmur rippled through the audience. Some students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others leaned in, eager to see how Denzel would respond. The student wasn't just asking a question, he was challenging everything Denzel stood for. His tone wasn't one of curiosity, but of arrogance, as if he believed he knew better than the man who had built a career others could only dream of. The confidence in his voice suggested that in his mind he had figured out Hollywood's future, and icons like Denzel were simply too stuck in the past to keep up. This wasn't just about filmmaking styles. This was a generational clash, a battle between experience and innovation, tradition and change, wisdom and youthful defiance. The student was standing on the shoulders of giants, but seemed to think he was above them. The challenge wasn't just directed at Denzel's career. It was an attack on the idea that experience still mattered in an era of rapid technological evolution. But if the student thought Denzel would be caught off guard, he was about to learn a harsh lesson in humility, Because Washington wasn't just going to let this slide. He was about to shut down the arrogance with a response so sharp, so precise, that the entire room would be left in stunned silence. Without missing a beat, Denzel Washington turned his gaze toward the student, his expression calm yet piercing. The entire room seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see how he would react to the audacious challenge. But Washington didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. Instead, he did what only a seasoned professional with decades of experience could do. He dismantled the arrogance with a single devastating question. When's the last time you won an Oscar? Silence. Absolute silence. The student, who had been so sure of himself just moments before, sat there frozen, his confidence visibly draining. A ripple of laughter spread through the room, not the cruel kind, but the kind that comes when someone walks straight into their own downfall. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered reality hitting like a freight train. Denzel didn't need to say anything else. That one question said it all. Because at the end of the day, Hollywood isn't just about theories, opinions, or fresh perspectives. It's about results. It's about who has proven themselves, who has put in the work, and who has actually stood at the top of the industry. The student could talk all he wanted about the new era of filmmaking, but the fact remained he had achieved nothing. Meanwhile, Denzel Washington had built a career so legendary that his name alone carried more credibility than anything the student could argue. But Denzel wasn't done. He let the laughter settle before continuing, his tone still composed, but now carrying an unmistakable edge. You see, the problem isn't that young people have new ideas. The problem is when they think experience doesn't matter. He wasn't rejecting change. He was reminding everyone in the room that before you try to rewrite the rules, you need to learn how to play the game. The student sat there speechless. And the rest of the audience? They weren't just watching a moment unfold. They were witnessing a masterclass in humility delivered by one of the greatest to ever do it. Denzel Washington's words hung in the air like a thunderclap. The room, still recovering from the weight of his response, was eerily silent. But what happened next wasn't just about shutting down a student's arrogance. It was about delivering a lesson that would resonate far beyond that moment. A lesson about why experience will never be outdated, no matter how much Hollywood evolves. Denzel leaned forward, his voice steady but firm. You think new voices matter more than experience? Let me tell you something. New voices are important, but they don't replace wisdom. They build on it. He wasn't dismissing innovation. He wasn't against change. But he made it clear, before you break the rules, you need to understand why they exist. That's what separates greatness from mediocrity. And in an industry as cutthroat as Hollywood, those who ignore the lessons of the past rarely survive long enough to create the future. The arrogance of youth often assumes that everything before it is irrelevant. But Hollywood, like life, has a way of humbling those who believe they already know everything. Denzel pointed out that the greatest filmmakers of all time, Spielberg, Scorsese, Tarantino, all studied the legends who came before them. They didn't dismiss the past. They learned from it, mastered it, and only then did they redefine it. The students in that room weren't just being trained to hold a camera or write a script. They were being trained to understand the depth of storytelling, the artistry of performance, the craftsmanship behind cinema itself. And then, with the weight of decades behind his words, Denzel hit them with the truth that so many people refuse to accept. You don't get to rewrite the rules before you've played the game. That's the difference between those who talk about success and those who actually achieve it. Hollywood isn't about rejecting the past. It's about taking the best of what's been done and using it to build something even greater. But that takes patience. It takes respect. And above all, it takes time. The room remained silent, not because they were intimidated, but because they were realizing something they had never considered before. Experience isn't a relic, it's the foundation upon which greatness is built. And in that moment, Denzel Washington wasn't just an actor, he was a mentor, a teacher, a living testament to what it means to truly earn success. Denzel Washington wasn't just giving a lecture, he was pulling back the curtain on what really separates those who make it in Hollywood from those who fade into obscurity. And the truth, it wasn't flashy, it wasn't about luck, it wasn't even about raw talent alone. No, the foundation of success has always been the same: discipline, work ethic, and an unwavering respect for the craft. He made it clear that technology and diversity are important, but they are not a substitute for skill, hard work, and mastery. Hollywood might evolve, cameras change, special effects improve, audiences shift. But the essence of what makes a great actor, a great director, or a great storyteller remains untouched. No amount of CGI, no groundbreaking cinematography, no politically driven narrative can mask the absence of true artistry. And yet, Denzel wasn't blind to the way things were changing. He acknowledged that the industry is different from when he started. Streaming platforms, social media influence, and a constant demand for fresh content have reshaped how movies are made and consumed. But here's where most people get it wrong. They confuse change with progress. Just because Hollywood looks different today doesn't mean it has abandoned the principles that built it. The greats still rise because of the same unshakable qualities they always had: dedication, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. He reminded the students that Hollywood is filled with stories of actors and directors who relied on trends instead of craft. They skyrocketed to fame overnight, only to disappear just as quickly. Because without real talent and an unbreakable work ethic, success in this industry is nothing more than a temporary illusion. The industry doesn't care about entitlement. It doesn't care about who complains the loudest or who demands a seat at the table. It rewards those who prove, time and time again, that they belong. And with that, Denzel left the students with one final thought. You want to make it in Hollywood? Then show up, do the work, respect the process. Because talent is just the invitation. Discipline is what keeps you in the room. The message was clear. There are no shortcuts to greatness, and those who truly understand that, they're the ones who will stand the test of time. As the weight of Denzel Washington's words settled over the room, there was a sense that something had shifted. The students weren't just hearing a speech anymore, they were witnessing a reality check in real time. But just when they thought the lesson was over, Denzel delivered one last, unforgettable blow. He turned back to the student who had challenged him, and with the same unshaken composure said, "Come back after you've won an Oscar." It wasn't said with arrogance. It wasn't meant to humiliate. It was simply the truth. Because in Hollywood, opinions don't hold weight, results do. You can argue about industry changes all you want, but at the end of the day, those who have walked the path, fought the battles, and earned their success are the ones who actually know what they're talking about. And if someone wants to challenge a legend, then they better have the credentials to back it up. But Denzel wasn't just speaking to that student, he was speaking to everyone in the room. He looked around and told them point blank, take notes instead of challenging proven success. The message was loud and clear. Too many people want to skip the process. They want the fame, the recognition, the accolades, without first earning the right to be in the conversation. And that's exactly why most of them will never make it. Hollywood is brutal. It's unforgiving. It doesn't care about your potential. It only cares about what you actually do. And those who understand that, they're the ones who put in the work, while others waste time arguing about why they deserve a shortcut. Denzel made it clear the students in that room had a choice: learn from the greats or let their own arrogance keep them from ever reaching their full potential. Then, with a final glance at the audience, he said, you can either complain about the game or you can learn how to win it. And just like that, He had given them something far more valuable than any film school course ever could, the blueprint for real success. For a moment, the entire room was completely still. No one dared to speak. No one even shifted in their seat. You could hear a pin drop, because what had just happened wasn't just a debate. It was a masterclass in humility, wisdom, and hard-earned success. Then, as if a collective realization had hit them all at once, the silence broke into thunderous applause. The weight of Denzel Washington's words had settled deep into the minds of every aspiring filmmaker in that room. And now, they weren't just clapping out of respect. They were clapping because they understood. They had just witnessed something profound, something raw and unfiltered, something that cut through all the noise of Hollywood's distractions and hit at the very core of what it takes to make it in. The industry. Some students sat there eyes wide, as if they were still processing the harsh but necessary truth that had just been laid before them. Others nodded in agreement, realizing that this wasn't just about one arrogant student getting put in his place. This was a wake-up call for an entire generation. In a world where overnight fame is confused with real achievement, where social media creates the illusion of success without the work to back it up, Denzel had just reminded them that there are no shortcuts to true greatness, and the student who had challenged him, he didn't say another word. His confidence had evaporated, replaced by the unmistakable realization that he had underestimated the power of real experience. He wasn't being ridiculed. He was simply facing the truth, maybe for the first time in his life. A moment of arrogance had turned into a life-changing lesson. As Denzel stepped away from the podium, he wasn't just leaving behind words. He was leaving behind a lasting imprint on everyone in that room. Because long after that day was over, long after the applause had faded, those who were truly paying attention would remember what they had learned. And for those who took his advice to heart, that moment might just be what separates their success from everyone else's failure. Now here's the real question. What do you think? Was this student just naive, or did he represent a bigger problem in today's industry? Do you believe that experience will always matter, or is Hollywood truly evolving past its legends? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you have to say. One thing's for sure. Denzel Washington just gave one of the most powerful reality checks of all time. In an era where everyone wants overnight success, he reminded us that real greatness is built on discipline, respect, and relentless hard work. And let's be honest, that's a lesson far too many people need to hear today. If you found this story as jaw-dropping as we did, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. There's more Hollywood drama, more shocking revelations, and more untold stories that will change the way you see your favorite celebrities forever. And if you thought this was intense, just wait until you see what we uncovered next. Click here for the next video. It's even crazier. See you there.